What is up, ladies and gentlemen? And today I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Outlaws. I finally finished this game as of earlier today, and I really want to talk about this game because this game is nothing but short of amazing. So I really want to talk about what I truly think about this game in general, and with my second playthrough rather than my first initial playthrough on this game, and vice versa, and really come to a conclusion as to why I think that this game is absolutely amazing. So stay tuned. All right. So basically, what I really thought about this game in general, I think this was an amazing game from the very beginning I've started this game because of the fact I really enjoyed the majority of what this whole entire game was able to do, especially for me because I'm a huge original Star Wars fan, from Empire, Return, and A New Hope. But what I really love about this game in general, I really think that this game did a really good job with its story. I think there was no problems with it. I mean, I do believe that it was maybe a little convoluted at times, but at some point in the game, especially when you get to the end of the game very closely, it's not what I was expecting. I actually thought the ending was really good. I think it was fantastic, and I love the way how it was just how it really just panned out to be. And what I mean by that, it was just something that I really never really thought was possible. Because, like I said again, you have to really take it as a grain of salt to where it's not because it takes place before the events of Return of the Jedi and after the events of Empire. It's in between of those original films. And I think that's where this game really does a really good job of its pure aesthetic of, maybe not really fully staying true to what the original films did, but I think it has to do with the fact is it's the cinematic storytelling. I think the cinematic storytelling in this game did a fantastic job overall. I really do. I love the characters. I like the way how Kay Vess really panned out to be really well done by Humberly Gonzalez that did the motion capture. And Eric Johnson, he actually ended up playing the role of Whitney in Smallville that did the role of Jalen Brax in this game as well. And so, again, I really think when it came down to Star Wars Outlaws, not just as a game and not just like, bridging the gaps between Empire and Return of the Jedi, it expected everything from me because of the fact, not just because of a Star Wars fan as I am, it has to do with the fact that it did a really good job with its pure aesthetic movement. I love the way how the gunplay was. The gunplay was pretty fantastic. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like one of the best, but it was fantastic overall. It was pretty fun. I really liked the way how you were able to implement different types of, mechanics to the blaster and being able to open up certain areas in the game to where you couldn't really open up very in the beginning of the game because it has that type of Metroid-y type of vibe to it. Much like Metroid Prime or any other Metroid games back in the day. You had to have specific types of weapons or vice versa in order to venture through some other areas in the game and not being able to have that access early in the game because you had to have certain types of upgrades. So that's where Star Wars Outlaws does a really good job with that. I really like that type of exploration. I think Massive Entertainment did such an amazing job on this game. And not only that, it was the fact that I felt like that this game to me did a lot of things justice. It was ND5. ND5 did a really good job with the voice acting. I thought the voice acting in this game was really good. I wouldn't say it's fantastic either, but it was very good. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I will say that Massive Entertainment did it all out with this game. I mean, with the pure PR marketing perspective on it. But again, I really think that's where Star Wars Outlaws did such an amazing job for this game. They did a lot of things for this game that really did something that we never really got, especially when it comes into the perspective of being in between of Empire and Return of the Jedi. And it's giving us a story to where we never really thought we would get. I really like the perspective and the change on that because, especially when it came to Jedi Star Wars or Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, those games were fantastic. I mean, obviously you're playing as a Jedi and you have all these different types of force abilities. And so I think that's where Star Wars Outlaws feels so differently from those games. I mean, it is a different type of perspective of a Star Wars game. And I think that's where Massive Entertainment did a really good job on that front. I really, really do. And I love the fact that they did a lot of things that I really enjoyed. It was everything of what I liked about it. And that's one thing, what I will say is that, this game actually ended up getting not so great reviews from a lot of outlets. And it's understandable because, this game was not all that polished, all that great, or none too great for this game when it first came out. But I would say after the very few updates that we've been getting for the past, I would say I think every 3 to 6 weeks, they've been doing a really good job by updating this game. And normally when I played this game for the very first time on my second playthrough, not my very first playthrough, I did have some problems to where the game would freeze up and it would crash my application. But I had none of that issues in the rest of my second playthrough, which is good because that really took me out of the experience for this game when I had the problems of like maybe some frame rate drops a little bit and some game crashes or in-game crashes, that sort of thing. But other than that, I would say my overall experience with this game is very, very good. I really think that it's not just because of Massive Entertainment that put a really good amount of scope in this game. I really like the environments in this game. I love Tashara. I loved Kajimi. I loved Akiva. I think Akiva is definitely one of my favorite planets in the game because there's a lot of vegetation involved. But again, you're still getting a lot of exploration involved within each of the atmosphere of different planets that you are progressing, and with the story and just exploration and vice versa. And I think that's what makes this game even more fun. And as I previously stated, it has that type of Metroid, type of Vania, type of exploration, which I actually really like. It gives you the opportunity and the incentive of being able to get specific upgrades so that you can go back to previous planets and do the more exploration involved. And I think that's really good. Like I said, again, I love that type of exploration. Now, I kind of want to talk about the gameplay in this game because I think the gameplay in this game is, I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's very good. I really enjoyed the gameplay. I would have to say that, while doing the stealth missions, there are some stealth missions involved in this game, but you can go all out if you want to. But, what I will say is that this game is meant to be a thief type of scoundrel type of game. And that's one of the things that I really loved about this game. I think that's where this game really shined to that certain type of concept to a certain degree as well. And I love that. You do feel like a Han Solo, but in a female protagonist like Hayves. And I think that's where this game really shined for me because again, I love Jedi Survivor. I loved Fallen Order because you're playing as a Jedi, as I previously stated. But again, I think going back and not just finally finishing this game, but finally realizing that, we don't always have to have a Star Wars game to where you're playing as a Jedi Knight or a Master Jedi. I think that this game, I don't think there's any problems with this game. After some previous updates, it's definitely a lot better. But overall, I would say my experience with this game is really, really good. It's very, very positive. Yes, the gameplay can be somewhat repetitive. The story can sometimes be a little convoluted, of course. But again, it's like any kind of game can be kind of convoluted. Any kind of game can be repetitive. But again, I think that where Star Wars Outlaws is concerned, this game just does a lot of things that I wanted it to be, and it exceeded that. You're playing a female protagonist in Han Solo form. It takes place before the events of Return of the Jedi and after the events of Empire Strikes Back. I mean, it did those things perfectly for me. So that's all I got to say about that. So I don't know. We'll see how things go, but I am planning on going back and replaying this game again at some point. But overall, my experience with this game is nothing but of amazing. So I'm going to take a quick break here. I'll see you guys here in a little bit. Now, what we're going to be talking about here is where it was very interesting. It was something that I wasn't really quite expecting. And when I first saw this, I'm like, holy shit. This was just like, it was a mind blown, or basically a mind fuck. So again, that's what I was saying about this game, Star Wars Outlaws. This game is giving, not just in the matter of the different perspective from another point of view. It was the fact that, we got Darth Vader in this game, as you see here. And I was just like, what? I was astonished. I was surprised. And not only that, it totally makes sense. And so, going back to my previous videos that I have been making or have made on Star Wars Outlaws, a possible paradigm shift in this game, in the form of a video game format, setting the stage between the events of Empire and Return of the Jedi. And so again, but like I said, though, this is where it makes sense, though, because you're not just playing as a scoundrel or a thief, as you are, because that's what this game initially is supposed to be played, obviously, because, it's more stealth-oriented. I mean, you can go hot with your blaster. I mean, you can shoot a lot of people or enemies or vice versa. But again, the whole entire crux of this game is just, it's based on the stealth. It's based upon what a scoundrel or a thief is going to be like. I mean, obviously, we've had that type of feeling as well, like from the original Thief games back in 1998 through 2004, I believe. But again, having that scene as Slero goes up against Darth Vader, it was something that was actually quite enthralling to a certain degree, because I'm like I said again, I was not expecting it, but at the same time, you kind of have to expect it, because it's part of the Star Wars universe. I wouldn't say it's part of the Star Wars canon, but it's definitely part of the Star Wars universe. So that's why I'm saying this game does a really good way of depicting certain type of events, and it's an event that we never really got to see, and it wasn't fully realized until we finally got it into a video game format, like Star Wars Outlaws. And so that's why I say this game, I would say it's important to those types of films in a certain type of way. Now, I will say, I had a comment on one of my Star Wars videos. It was the one that a paradigm shift in the Star Wars canon. And this person was kind of rude, but I took it as constructive criticism, obviously, because you kind of have to. So again, he was saying, stop babbling about this woke drivel and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, I wanted to reply back to a certain degree and saying, hey, you have to understand, this is my own perspective and opinions of what I think about what makes this game so good or great into the Star Wars canon. So I think people are so misunderstood sometimes, or misinterpreting of what I'm really trying to talk about when it comes to a game in general. Whether if it's a story-based game that has some really good core elements of gameplay and stealth and vice versa, which this game does. But again, it's just like, I wasn't trying to put this person in their place. That's not my forte. I think that's a really bad idea. So again, I did not reply, which I'm really glad I didn't, because if I would have replied to that comment, it would not have been good for me, more so than less forgiving and less important to the person that made that comment. So again, I just think when it came to Star Wars Outlaws personally, in my perspective, it's amazing. And I know people are going to say, dude, you're an idiot. This game is trash. It's slop. It's made by Ubisoft. And I'm like, okay. Point being, or be that as it may, people have their own entitlements of their opinions. I respect people's opinions, but I think if it's like if you're going to be going down that type of hill of being that toxic and not knowing of what I'm really trying to talk about and not looking between those types of and not basically looking behind the scenes of what I'm saying, then I'm just like, you know what, I just ignore it. So overall, I still think that this game is absolutely amazing. I love the cinematics. I love the syndicate reputation system. Let's talk about that here. So the syndicate reputation system in this game is fairly unique from for a game like this because normally I don't play games like this usually. Well, I do, but again, that was kind of a dumb thing to say. But so again, I do play these types of games, but I never played a game in a Star Wars game like this to where there's a reputation system involved, to where it's like you really have to be careful of the choices and the consequences that are within those choices of each type of syndicate. Because you have the Pike Syndicate, you have the Crimson Dawn, you have the Shiga Clan, you have the Hutt Cartel. So you really have to be careful of how you're going to balance out those syndicate reputation. And here's the thing. I actually discovered that or learned it the hard way in my first initial playthrough. And then once I decided, I'm like, okay. Once I started my whole entire new playthrough, my second playthrough on this game, I finally understood and the gist of what the reputation system it was going to be or what was going to be or look like to a certain degree because again, when you like do a lot of things for the Hutt Cartel and the Crimson Dawn and the Ashiga and the Pike syndicates, you get certain types of rewards. Each reward from each syndicate is going to be different from the rest. And that's another thing what I really loved about this game as well. This game actually did the reputation very well because not just because of the rewards, but within those rewards that you can get certain things for your Trailblazer, you can get certain things for your blaster to upgrade and upgrade your Trailblazer as well, and you can get different types of superior type of gear sets that have specific types of perks. And so one thing in particular I would say with the rewards that I was able to get, I believe it was through the Akiva clan if I'm not mistaken, and I was able to get the Akiva clan thief set or something like that, if I remember correctly. And because I wanted to be able to have better movement speed, and obviously you can be able to get the different types of movement speeds through different types of upgrades through different types of people. So again, I think that's where this game really does a really good job with its reputation system and the rewards along with it. That's one thing I think that this game did magnificently well on. But overall, I still think this game is absolutely amazing. I do highly recommend picking this game up if you are a Star Wars fan, if you are a Han Solo fan from Harrison Ford from the OG Star Wars films. It's really, really good. And what I will say one thing is that I was kind of disappointed, not really close towards to the end, but trying to get, to be the ultimate heist. And while it was the ultimate heist, but here's the thing. It was not very climactic. It was very anticlimactic to a very big degree. It was because Kay thought that she was going to get lots of credit, being able to not look over her shoulder anymore and not being able to run anymore. And I'm just like, oh my God. It's like, what the fuck, right? And so, but again, I think it was still an overall great game. I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I love the character progression through different types of characters in this game. There are some betrayal and backstabbing in this game, obviously, because you kind of have to expect that because, it's a scoundrel game. You're playing that type of Han Solo type of character. So again, I think that's where this game really does a very good job with its systems and with the reputation system and being able to learn how to balance that out Like I said again, the combat was really good. I really liked it quite a bit. I did like the different types of unlocks. Now, one thing I will say as well towards the end of this video is I was really even more surprised that her mother showed up. And I forgot Jalen Vrax. He was a really good character. I liked him, but I always found him very, very fishy. And so again, that's why you kind of have to feel that way or kind of expecting that. But overall, he actually ended up getting contact with Kay's mother because she actually ended up being a master slicer as well. And I kind of wish that he would not have done that. I mean, even though that he thought that he was in the right of trying to get a hold of her mother because, there were no other slicers in the world before you were actually able to visit another slicer early in game and gain her abilities and as such. But other than that, it's understandable why he did it, but I don't think that he should not have done how he did it. I think it was wrong. But again, even if Kay knew that she needed another slicer, I'm sure that she would eventually go toward, eventually get a hold of her mother as well, because she knew that her mother was going to be one of the best slicers in the world amongst other slicers that Kay initially somewhat friended with in the game before the game is even totally finished. But all in all, I really think that this game is absolutely fantastic. Like I said again, I do highly recommend it. I mean, if you are a Star Wars fan like I am, especially when it comes to the OG Star Wars films, obviously they're not the prequels because they sucked. So this was just like a really good turn of events. Even though that there were some, I did feel like that there were some good, very interesting type of plot holes, but they finally filled in the gaps, towards the end of the game, and I think that it fleshed out fairly, fairly well. So my rating on this game, I would definitely give it an 8.5 out of 10. There are some problems with this game still with some, there are still some game problems in terms of frames per second a little bit I did notice, but overall it was still a really good, great experience. But anyways, this is Jake from Citizen JV. Thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Any comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section below, guys. And you guys have a good rest of your weekend. Peace, guys.
On me, Trooper.